Testing, testing. Oh, for God's sakes. um, yeah, that was really bad, wasn't it? How long has this stream been going for? 10 minutes. Hello and welcome to Animus Lives, where the host forgot to add himself to the bloody stage. Oh, God. Can't believe that. Right, yes. Now that we're technically officially started. Oh, should I start the stream again? No. No, I'm not. We are going to start from here. Thanks, Zim, for pointing that out. I can't believe I did that. Honestly, I don't know why StreamYard doesn't add you as standard. It's really stupid. Anyway, welcome to Animus Lives number 1. If we go back to the title, gotta have faith. Yes, this stream is about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, no exclamation mark. I'm going to jump right in. As I said earlier, when no one could hear me, God damn it, StreamYard. I don't want to be here for 10 hours talking about this. I don't want to try and break Sea Monster's record for this so early. Yeah, thanks, Zim. So, let's talk about this scene, shall we? Because despite it's quite fascinating how Godzilla King of the Monsters is still a contentious film all these years later. People still argue about whether it's a good film or a bad film or not. I think even Minecraft World has like downgraded his opinion on King of the Monsters, thanks to I think it's like the debate streams probably changed his mind a little bit. My opinion is still that it is very, very, very good. I'll accept that it has flaws, but I'll still say it's one of the best films I've seen potentially. Well, there's been some good ones lately. Surprisingly, yeah. I think I'm guessing it's something to do. Yeah, Zimza just said Brits have streaming issues. I saw Mauler had streaming issues last night. Maybe it's something to do with the like the servers or something. Because I know for a fact there's like a big delay when I talk on Sea Monsters streams, which is why sometimes I end up talking over people because I'm like, oh, I have to talk quickly to make sure that I'm not like lagging behind everything. But yeah, I think in this particular case, it's the fact that I'm supposed to click on my own face to then add myself to the thing, so that I'm basically adding myself as a guest to my own stream. Why StreamYard? Why? Surely I should just be there as stand. Anyway, anyway. So yeah, this scene. Um, the reason I've called it what I've called it is because of the lot of I've talked about it before. I've made a video about the fact that King of the Monsters has a lot of religious connotations to it. Oh, you can go through the film, go through that video. Mickey Mouse. Oh, welcome, Mickey. Your Honor, sir, the legend that is Mickey Mouse. And thank you for saying that you like King of the Monsters. um, I'm assuming that's not Mickey Mouse. I'm assuming that's somebody else in disguise. But yeah, for the time being, the meme shall stand. Oh, I've lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, gotta have faith. Yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters has a lot of religious connotations to it, especially Book of Revelation stuff. Um, one of the things I didn't mention in that my Godzilla and the book and the revelation of Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think I called the video. In that video, one of the things I missed out was the fact that in the Book of Revelation, there's a woman carrying a child, and the devil, as the multi-headed dragon, is trying to chase the child. um, sorry, Mickey's taking a break from Disney apparently. Uh, Mickey for the MonsterVerse. Yes, the devil as the multi-headed dragon is chasing the woman with the child, and then Jesus comes along to defend them and ends up fighting off the dragon. Which does have some comparisons with King of the Monsters, rather vaguely, I will admit. But the fact that you get Madison being chased by Ghidorah at the end of the film, well, nearly at the end of the film, and then Godzilla saves her. It's very vague. It's very loose comparison, but I still like the fact that there's some comparison there. Um, but yeah, those religious connotations aren't just face value. They aren't just these vagaries that don't that are just like surface level, I should say. Mecha Mickey. Oh, someone's got to Antonio. Mecha Mickey. um, and in this, Zerizara is very much about, well, the whole film's about zealotry, how zealotry can be quite harmful. Um, Zerizara is quite a lot of religious connotations with Zerizara and the way that he talks about the Titans. I think there is a slight mention. Yeah, there was a mention in 2014 of, oh God, what was her name? Graham. Yeah, it was Graham, wasn't it? Who said that Godzilla was the apex predator of his time, a god for all intents and purposes. So there's that. Even that admiration was there in 2014, and it's just exasperated in Killing the Monsters. And that, I think, is the main drive with this scene. I mean, it's bloody obvious. Once you start looking at it, thinking about it, it's really bloody obvious that faith and religious connotations and all that are the main point of this scene, which is why uh, it's not really a surprise, I suppose, considering the nature of Godzilla's history to do with nuclear weapons. But it's a surprise when people's knee-jerk reaction, I suppose you would say, was this has a this is a theme towards positive nuclear use of nuclear weapons, question mark. Which I find it's one of those things of, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, however, and that's what I want to discuss here in this stream. Real quick, say the name of that book in the Bible again. I want to test something. The Book of Revelation. Not Revelations. Revelations is what most people call it. Revelation is what it's actually called. Funnily enough, I made a sign for someone's, I think it was a christening, or was it a wedding recently? And they put on there, the customer told us to put on there the quote from the Book of Revelation. And they called it Revelations. I was like, did they misspell that? And they're like, yeah, that's what the customer put. I was like, cool, okay, they got it wrong. That's their fault. Mickey Mouse, the Lord of Disney, says, sometimes the only way to heal our wounds is to make peace with the demons who created them. Yes, that is actually one of the things that goes into this scene. And it's something that people miss. I was actually quite surprised during our debates with Blackaroonie and who else were we debating against? I can't remember now. Blackaroonie was like the spearhead of the debates in that, but he's the one I had the most trouble with. But yeah, people didn't realize or didn't remember the fact that Zerizara pulls out his watch in this scene. You know, how could you not remember? That's like a big part of everything. Maybe that's why people missed the connotations with it. That message, the demon message. I mean, he pulls out his watch during that scene, during the demon discussion, the demon messaging bit. And then he pulls it out in this scene as well when he meets Godzilla, when he's putting the missile, warhead. When he's putting the warhead down, he pulls it out again because it's just the film saying, look, these scenes are connected, these things are connected. And apparently people missed it, and if they missed it, they would have probably more of an excuse to get the messaging wrong. But yeah, the fact that the other image I had on screen whilst I couldn't be heard was this one. because I was just talking about everything leading up to the scene, with themes at the bottom, themes being the last thing to talk about, but everything else leading up to it works. Like the setup, like Godzilla is injured and he needs to return home to heal up, but he needs to be healed up faster than he naturally would be, so that's why they bring the bomb in. They know the bomb will work because 2014 showed that the Castle Bravo bomb wouldn't have hurt him. And the Castle Bravo bomb was 15 megatons, and modern nukes are, well, the standard I think the Americans use is 1.2. So yeah, drastically less harmful. So letting that off in his face will probably be absolutely fine. And it turns out it is. There was actually a power scaling question somebody asked me about this. Who asked me about that? I can't remember now. Anyway, because somebody asked about Ghidra sucking the energy out of a power transformer in Boston to then get a massive energy boost. The energy from that wouldn't have equaled the energy in a nuclear missile warhead. And I not theorized. I basically worked around that by saying thinking that the power transformer was basically Ghidra getting a straw and sticking it into a power source and draining it out directly, whereas a nuclear device exploding in Godzilla's face is like somebody throwing a drink at someone's face, and that person's just sort of opening their mouth to catch as much as they can before it splashes over them. It's like, theoretically, the drink being thrown can be bigger than the drink being sucked on, but you're not going to get all the drink being thrown at you, but you will get all the drink you're sucking. That was a bit of a random tangent, but yeah. The setup for this scene, I think, is good. The mechanics of it, I really like. The fact that a lot of the mechanics call back to previous films, i.e., Godzilla gets home by using all the Hollow Earth tunnels, which are introduced in Kong Skull Island, and sort of maybe possibly you could connect up to 2014 because Godzilla he disappears off the map at one point, and you could say that he's using the tunnels. I'd have to actually look at that actually because I think he gets to San Francisco after everybody else, so that means he took a slower route. Anyway, you get the Hollow Earth tunnels, you get the Clockwork Bomb, the retrofitted warhead, just like in 2014, which makes sense because Monarch would have those lying around because of 2014. And it is their sub, because Monarch have their own like little military group, and then they seem to have their own little navy group as well, because they have a submarine base inside of the Castle Bravo base. So that looks like a Monarch sub. Are there any other mechanical things to do with? I don't think so. I think that's all the mechanical stuff. The world building all kind of mixes in with that as well. I do like the fact that this opens up the ancient civilization opens up all sorts of avenues. Some very interesting avenues connecting up the history. The myth is our compass, I think, is what Chen Dr. Chen says earlier in the film. I remember in 2014 they said that a nuclear sub woke Godzilla up, and it was a nuclear sub that rebirthed him. Ooh, I didn't think of that. He got woken up twice by a nuclear sub. That's a good connection. I didn't think of that. Something to consider: the oxygen destroyer, nuclear warhead, Mothra, all are band-aid solutions that require a sacrifice. Had Godzilla been able to just do his job, then there would be no sacrifice. Yes, that's actually part of the scene, the religious connotations to the scene. From a religious angle, when you go against God's plans, it ultimately causes more pain since you're wrestling with his plans. Yeah. one of the things you get in old Bible stories, especially I've been watching House of David lately, and there's going to be a video on that at some point. But in that show, they point out the fact that they do a lot of when people meet up, they don't just meet up and like have a drink or something. They go, let's sacrifice together. Let's sacrifice something to our God together as a sort of a camaraderie thing. And when they do that, they often pick the healthiest and the strongest of whatever it is they're sacrificing. In the case of David, it's one of his sheep. Um, that's kind of what's happening in the scene. The person who takes the warhead to Godzilla is Zerazawa. He's the head of Monarch. He's the guy in charge. He's theoretically the guy with all the knowledge and all that sort of thing. He is their best, and he is offering himself up to Godzilla, who is essentially the godlike figure here. He is the one being worshipped by this ancient civilization, or was being worshipped by the ancient civilization. Um, and even the act of bringing the warhead to him is like bringing an offering to an altar. It's like there's so many religious visuals to it. It's again, it's kind of hard. Well, it was hard to imagine people would get the wrong end of the stick of this, but it makes more sense when you realize people aren't making the connections that they should be making, and especially a lot of like my Godzilla reviews video, for God's sakes, you watch that video and you just so many people just don't watch the film. They're sitting going, "Who's this guy? What's going on here? I don't understand." You know, watch the film. Don't talk over it. Don't look at your phone when the monsters aren't on screen. Um, but yeah, this whole and the music as well, having the very like the somber uh chanting going on. The whole thing sounds religious. Yeah, and again, it connects back with the demons thing. You got to make peace with your demons, which is again connected up with the watch. Let's discuss that nuclear narrative bit. So, the thing that people took away from this, or some people took away from this, was nuclear weapons good, which is a bit of a strong message to take away from this. But again, you can see sort of why if you don't pay attention to all the details. It's also interesting to think about the fact that the nuclear weapon is almost being like mirrored by the oxygen destroyer, in that the oxygen destroyer is the new super weapon that is causing massive amounts of damage, and the nuclear weapons aren't being used against the monsters because in this universe, mechanically speaking, world building speaking, the nuclear weapons don't work against these monsters. So man just creates a new terrifying weapon, which just acts as an analogy for the nuclear weapons. Um, Honestly, you could spin the nuclear narrative message people got from this positively, because yeah, nuclear weapons and nuclear power were used quite massively negatively in the past. Obviously, uh, with the anniversary of Hiroshima recently gone by, um, people are well aware of the destructive power and the terrible things that nuclear power has done in the past. And whenever a nuclear power plant goes wrong, that's a major news story. But it's also in recent times been pointed out that nuclear power is probably one of the best solutions for trying to get rid of fossil fuels. Because although technically speaking, nuclear power does use a similar power source, it's by no means as bad as fossil fuels or contaminating or polluting, all that sort of thing. So the idea of you could possibly tweak that, you could probably get the message out of this scene of use this terrible thing, but use it properly. uh, Our Lord and Tyrant Mickey Mouse says it was more use nuclear power to heal nature rather than harm someone. Anything else? If it wanted to portray weapons good, then the Oxygen Destroyer would have seen as a positive thing in the movie. Yeah, that too. Like I said, the Oxygen Destroyer, in place of the nuclear weapons that are not effective in this story, the Oxygen Destroyer is essentially the analogy for the negative effects of a nuclear weapon being used destructively. Because again, the Oxygen Destroyer use is like, oh, we're going to solve this with destruction. Oh shit, destruction didn't work. So maybe we should actually try and heal instead, which is what they do. And again, that could be analogous for using nuclear power in a positive way for nuclear power stations providing us energy rather than fossil fuels and all that sort of thing. So in that sense, having the nuclear narrative in this scene does work, but people tend not to view it in a positive light, because when people bring up the nuclear narrative for this scene, they're not bringing it up for the positive light. They're going, oh, it's saying nuclear weapons good, which is such a, again, funnily enough, it's a surface level take and a surface level interpretation, which is one of the biggest problems with people reviewing the film, is that they don't pay attention to everything, they don't connect everything up, and they just take everything at face value and don't really think about it, which is where you get a lot of bad takes from. When this film has a lot going for it, you take any amount of time to just think about stuff that's going on, and you realize just this is why I like the film so much. Is that you look at the film and you go, and you start just looking at the different layers of it, all the different interpretations, because again, there's so many things to connect up and look at, and it's just that's why I love the film. It's an ambitious film. Is there a lot going on? Yes. Is there sometimes too much going on? Maybe there's not enough time to flesh everything out. Yes, I would agree that maybe dialing down on the amount of stuff that was going on, maybe you could hyper focus more on some of the other parts. But then if you do that, then you might alienate certain people. But then by the looks of it, people got annoyed with the film anyway. So there's some people you can't please because they are out to not like this thing. Zimzilla says, in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, many say that's an example of nukes bad instead of killing the monsters, but in the film we lose an entire city, which again, going by the religious allegory, didn't need to happen. Yeah, that's actually another thing which I find. What was the YouTube channel? Hishi? How it should have ended? They did a clip of when Godzilla rises up after quote unquote Atlantis gets exploded. Because in the film Godzilla rises up, looks at the sub, and then swims off. In the How It Should Have Ended video, Godzilla destroys the sub. They're like, oh, we just blew up his home. Oh no, and then he blows it up. And again, it's like, did you not get the message from the film? The whole point of the whole point of that scene is humanity does stuff that they think is right and causes a hell of a lot of destruction. So then they, with a bit more knowledge, with a bit more guidance, they do stuff which is still destructive, but helps. They do stuff more positively. Nature doesn't give a shit about that sort of thing. So when Godzilla's home gets destroyed, he's pissed. He's clearly pissed off with the fact that his home has been destroyed. Very clearly pissed off. But at the same time, he knows that he's just been healed up. He knows it was done for good reasons. He can understand that just from the fact that he feels better. So that's why he doesn't destroy the sub. He's like, okay, you destroyed my home, but you did it for good reasons. And again, also, it's just the fact that nature doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't have the. I'm trying to think of the word. it doesn't have the capacity for holding grudges. It's just like, yeah, you destroy the home, but Godzilla's now alive and kicking and can get back to work now. That again, it's just that sort of that messaging going on that people seem to miss. And that scene again, religious connotations to it. Mark Russell is face to face with Godzilla like he was earlier in the film, and like so many close encounters of the godly kind that you see in a lot of religious stories. I'm trying to think of the guy who went blind on the road. Anyway, a lot of these things, people have close encounters with God, and they come away with some kind of revelation. Earlier in the film, Mark Russell has a face-to-face with Godzilla, and comes away with it with new knowledge, new ideas of what might be going on and where to find Godzilla, where to find the orca, where to find Godzilla, where to find the orca that Godzilla might be tracking. I say might because I don't think Godzilla was tracking the orca, but anyway. And then in this scene, he has another face to face with God, and he comes up with another revelation, another inspiration, which then also turns out to be right. And again, just religious connotations going on. It's just that is the backbone of Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's just all the religious stuff going on, which seeps through everything. Once you have an understanding of all that, once you start realizing that, you can see the film in a whole new light. He was more after King Ghidorah than the Orca. Exactly. He was heading for King Ghidorah, who was already starting to wake up. And again, that works into the film. It's like, that works into the thematics and the messaging of the film. It's like, yeah, global warming, people talk about the fact that global warming is a natural thing, or climate change. Global warming is part of climate change. Anyway, that the rising global temperatures are a natural thing, but man-made climate change is speeding up the process. And that's exactly what happens in King of the Monsters. Ghidorah was waking up, but then people woke him up early, which then caused a lot of issues. Paul is the one blinded by God on the road to Damascus. Yes, that's the one. Back when he was still called Saul. Yes, yes. Thank you very much. I've been looking into a lot of religious like videos and whatnot lately about all the where all the books of the Bible came from, and like the names and the places and everything else like that. It's really interesting once you start looking into like the origins of these holy books and then what people interpret them as and what they actually are. It's really fascinating. Also quite eye-opening in terms of how people treat them. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. And someone's riding their motorbike very, very loudly. But yeah, back to the subject at hand. The scene where Zerazawa brings a nuclear warhead to Godzilla to revive him is a mostly religious inspired scene. It's talking about the Zerazawa earlier in the film talks to Mark Russell about how you must forgive your demons that harmed you. In his case, Godzilla. Well, not just Godzilla, the Mutos as well, but the Mutos are dead. So Mark has to blame somebody. So it's going to be Godzilla. Godzilla was responsible for the death of his son. He blames Godzilla for that, which is kind of redundant, really, because Godzilla doesn't know that. It's like blaming a tornado and then trying to nuke a tornado and then just causing all sorts of problems. A nuclear tornado. That sounds like a sci-fi film waiting to happen. But yeah, and then I was just like, you have this grudge against Godzilla, but it's not doing you any good. It's just causing you harm. You need to like let go of that. You need to come to terms with it. And that's kind of what's happening here. Is like they need to nuke Godzilla, and somebody has to take the nuke there. Zerazawa, whose father was killed, I think I nearly said grandfather then. Yeah, because there's the whole thing about the timings and whatnot to do with Zerazawa's age. Anyway, his father was killed by Hiroshima bomb, and theoretically, he should have a sort of quite strong hatred towards nuclear weapons and the use of nuclear weapons. But here, one needs to be used for the good of mankind. And because he's the one in charge, he is taking the responsibility upon himself to use it. That's where that whole thing comes from. Just the uh, oh god, brain stalled. um, Making peace with your demons. The nuclear weapon is the demon to him, but he needs to use it, which is why he gets his watch out in the middle of delivering the thing. Because yeah, of course he's going to be thinking about that at this time. It's going to be weighing heavy on his mind, as his last moments are about his father. I think that says a lot about the scene, and the fact that people take a lot of negative messaging from it without actually understanding that is quite sad, really. One problem I do have with King of the Monsters is that they do call the Titans animals in the Senate hearing. The comparison Zorazar makes is, I feel, too mundane. This is where the mechanics of the film and maybe the thematics of the film clash a little bit. Because, yeah, technically speaking, they are animals. They're possibly the most ancient animals on Earth, besides bacteria. um, so, in that sense, yeah, they are animals. But at the same time, the film is trying to paint them as these godly creatures, like semi-godly creatures. So, yeah, there is a little bit of a conflict there, especially with Zerazawa, who, again, has a lot of respect and awe for the Titans. Uh, what else is there to talk about? I wanted to actually mention this, because I'm sure this was brought up. Maybe it was brought up in the debates, but I'm sure I've heard this somewhere. The idea of people living around a Titan, i.e., this city that was built around Godzilla, to me, that has always made sense. Because if you live in a world that has Titans in it, even if they don't pop up all the time, maybe it's like once in a generation, a Titan will wake up and try to ruin things. Because I mean, if you look in the old religion, lots of old religions, you have a lot of gods, and they all do different things. So maybe there's a Titan. Each Titan has their own specific use and their own specific abilities that makes them part of the Titan pantheon, as it were. Wouldn't it make sense for a civilization to gather around one of these creatures, especially if they're benevolent? If most of the time all they do is sleep, and then occasionally they wake up and they do something that benefits the world. If there's some kind of imbalance going on, they get up and change it. Wouldn't it then be beneficial to? I think, yeah, Mark Russell says it in the film. When animals meet up, they want to. Uh, they meet up for food, for fighting, or for something more intimate. And there's a very similar thing going on when it comes to symbiotic relationships. Again, something that's brought up in King of Monsters. Um, a civilization can flee from a monster. They can try and fight a monster, which in ancient times probably wouldn't have been an option. Or they can befriend a monster. That's definitely a third F, definitely. So they make friends with the monster. They worship it. They make a home for it. They make his bed nice and decorative and bring him offerings, possibly very much like Zozaru is doing here. There was actually an Ancient Aliens episode where they brought up the fact that one of the temples, the the temple priests wore all this very weird garb, and they said in Ancient Aliens, oh, this might be like helping to protect them from some kind of radiation because radiation device, aliens, blah blah blah. It's like, obviously in real life that's a load of rubbish, but with the connotations of this, of an actual radioactive temple, that could be a thing. Ancient people wearing some kind of protective devices to deliver offerings to their gods. So yeah, to me, mechanically speaking, a civilization building a temple and a home for their um home titan. What's the word? Can't think of the word now. Their chosen titan. They'll build around and even make a little path for him, which is actually weirdly getting sort of duplicated in Godzilla X Kong, with him sleeping in the Colosseum and like making a path down to the river and then walking along the river. Yeah, he's caused a lot of destruction to make that path, but it's interesting to see that there's a comparison going on there. Food, fight, friend, or fuck. Yeah. I mean, technically speaking, friend and fuck could connect together. You know, friends with benefits. Um, the Demon Titan Mickey Mouse says, in 2014, he locked eyes with Ford and acknowledged him knowingly. Yes, he did. That was quite a meaningful moment when like Godzilla, looking very tired from the fight, looks over at Ford Brody, and they connect eyes for a second, and it's like the same weariness possibly being shared between them, because at that point Ford Brody had gone through a lot. I think, how many times did he die or nearly die? At least twice. He also ducked under the ships. These two events showed that he knows of humans and he wants to connect with them again. I did like the fact that in 2014 he turns up at Hawaii and drowns the place, and then later on he doesn't, and people called that a bit of a plot hole. Because why isn't he drowning the city here? Why isn't he causing massive waves here? And in my head, I just thought maybe he didn't want to do that again, so he's taking it a bit easier this time. Maybe he was like too much in a rush to fight the Mutos and didn't consider that there might be a load of people here. But so yeah, it's I do like the mechanical system, which is again okay. I was just thinking about the times in like Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla X Kong, where he doesn't do that, and he's just. But then that Godzilla is a completely different Godzilla, and I would love it. I would love it if Godzilla Kong Supernova, which again they need to get away from the whole Godzilla Kong thing at some point. If they either that film or the film afterwards brings up the fact that it's not the same Godzilla, it's a different Godzilla, and the Godzilla we currently have is some evil stepbrother who's slowly turning into Space Godzilla, which would make a lot of sense to me because the spines have gone crystalline and like a stiff, solid, different color to the rest of him. It would make a lot of sense if the Godzilla X Kong Godzilla was what would eventually become Space Godzilla. He's slowly turning into this crystalline horror. I doubt they'll do that, but you never know. Uh, it's similar to how many civilizations had local. That's the thing I was trying to say. Local deities. A house god. I think they used to call it in like Roman times. Like each household would have a household god. Local deities or a specific deity they were known for venerating. For venerated same. What damn is it? What's your language? They were known for venerated. Same could be said for Godzilla or others. Yeah, exactly. It's a household god. It's the patron god. There we go. That's the word. Patron god. Kind of like Athens had Athena and Sparta had Ares. Oh, so I've got to say Ares. Goddamn Wonder Woman. Goddamn Gal Gadot. Yeah, the patron god. I wouldn't. This is what I really would. If I could draw better and animate, um, I do want to do a drawing at some point. I haven't done that in years. But I liked the idea of the Nazca lines in Chile, South America somewhere, isn't it? The Nazca lines. Again, you watch Ancient Aliens. Oh, they're messages to the space aliens who come down in their flying saucers. Wouldn't it be great if they were actually just drawings made for Titanus Quetzalcoatl, and then depending on what they drew, uh, I'm just going to call Titan Q. Depending on what they drew, Titan Q would be pleased or upset, and then she would cause. I keep, though whether Quetzalcoatl will be a guy or a girl. Let's go with a guy. He would be upset and then cause like a terrible storm, or would be pleased and cause the rains to fall and fertilize the land. I like that idea, especially if you open a film with um the people at the time like drawing the lines on, then they run away because this shadow's just passed over, and then it cuts to Quetzalcoatl sitting on the hill somewhere looking at their drawings. It's like that would be a great intro to a film, and potentially a connection that could connect up with something that happens later in the film, like Godzilla needs help and someone calls out Quetzalcoatl or whatever. That would be a great little thing. It's never going to happen. The MonsterVerse has gone downhill quite significantly since GVK. So, well, after Godzilla King of the Monsters has set up so many things. It opened up so many doors. And it seems like this, just to connect back up to the subject at hand. This scene, with all its brilliant connotations and its visuals and its world building and everything else that it's doing, people just did not like it. People asked for more detail, for more nuance, for more intelligence in these films. They get it, and then they don't see it, and then they complain. And then we get a film like Godzilla vs. Kong, which is just dumbed down bollocks. As much as Omniviewer talked about possible thematics you might get from the film, like the whole like overt science versus basic humanity and versus godliness, deities, God versus man versus mechanical devil, I suppose, or the devil in mechanical form. As much as you can squeeze that out of Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla King of the Monsters had so much more to offer, and it's just a horrific dumbing down of the series from one to the next. Zim said a few things. Meant to say venerating lol. Patron deity, yeah. I mean, with the Hollow Earth being a thing, the Monsterverse should just lean more into these conspiracy theories being real instead of doing its own lore. I mean, Chen saying myth is our compass, and then she looks up myths to then name the Titans, for starters, or even just like trying to work out what they are and what they do. I recently watched a video, I think it was today actually, I watched a video on Loch Ness, or Nessie specifically, and all the stories surrounding that, like the older ones and the newer ones, and it's like there's so much you could get from that. And again, some of the theories surrounding Loch Ness with the whole underground tunnels connecting Loch Ness to there's a lake in America. I can't remember the name of the lake in America. I mean, that works into the whole Hollow Earth theory, the original Hollow Earth in the MonsterVerse, not the new one, which kind of messed things up a little bit. Oh God, I do hope they like retcon that somehow. I don't know how, but they need to retcon it somehow, make it make more sense. And again, that'll connect up back with the previous films. Yeah, they need to do. They need to drag the monsters back to Killing the Monsters at the very least, because Killing the Monsters again opened a lot of doors. You can do a lot with that. Godzilla vs. Kong didn't do it very well. Yeah. So how long's I been doing this for? 54 minutes. I think I'll end it here for now as my first stream. I don't want to go overboard. And yeah, we've discussed a few things and I've brought up a few things. Yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters is better than what a lot of people seem to think. it is. I mean, a lot of people do still think the film is good, but there's still a considerable amount of people who think it's bad. Hopefully, this has helped sort of bring out. Oh, actually, no, hang on. Before I go, no, I've decided I'm stopping. I did have Omniviewer's video on this scene where he was discussing it. It's been a while since I watched it, and I thought I might play it and just go through it and listen to it and then make any comments that I might want to make. But honestly, I might leave that for next time, whenever that will be. Haven't got a set day for this yet. I was thinking of doing it Saturdays, but Saturdays seem to be quite busy a lot of the time. Like Sea Monster does his stream on Saturdays. Maybe I'll do this Sundays. Who knows? But yeah, for now, I think I'll leave it here. It's been a informative stream, to say the least. Goddamn StreamYard not putting me on the not putting me on straight away. But yeah, that's been my thoughts on this. Oh, Zimzer's got one more thing. GVK should have never introduced the portal. Yes. Those portals. What the fuck was the portals? Seriously, in GVK they're not referenced. They're not focused on. They're just the camera just tilts over at one point and there's goo. And like, what the hell is this goo? And then they go for the goo into Space 1999 or whatever it was. 2001 A Space Odyssey. They go through that and then they just come out the other side and it's like, oh, what the hell was that? That's not explained at all. And then in the next film, at least they named them, but then they start introducing all sorts of stuff to it that doesn't make any sense. And they're so inconsistent with it. Oh my god, I need to do my GXK video. I really need to do that. It's going to take so long, though. It's going to take so long. The Demon Prince Mickey Mouse says, and it becomes more confusing that Godzilla just makes a hole through the earth instead of the... Yes. Yes. That's just... We definitely need these portals to get to the Hollow Earth. Except when we don't. And that hole's never addressed. GXK never addresses that hole, but then there's quite a few holes that it never addresses, eh? Anyway, thank you for joining me for this stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe the next one I'll cover Omniviewer's video on this subject, or maybe I'll think of something else. Who knows? Yeah, have a good one, Simzilla. Have a good one, you Dark Lord and Mickey Mouse. I shall see you all again next time. Oh, and I really need to work on this outro a bit more. I have live action remakes to Green Knight. No! Last but not least, thank you for watching.